today. This is the 2023 Virtual Capacity Building Grant Informational webinar. We have our lovely community resources team here today, and we also have some guest speakers from last year's capacity building grant to share about their successes, learnings from their projects that they implemented. So without further ado, we will get started. Meg, you want to flip to the next slide? Thank you. All right, just to give us kind of an overview of what this call will look like. It is about an hour. So we'll talk briefly about Good Shepherd Food Bank's bold goal, go over what the grant overview and timeline looks like, give you some examples of projects, project ideas, and we have guest speakers here to talk about projects that were funded in fiscal year 21-22. Technical grant questions, and then we'll be going over the application. So each portion of the application and what it covers, and give you some tips and tricks on how to write a successful grant. And then we'll be following up with scoring rubric overview. And then we will hear from our guest speakers, and we will certainly leave time for some questions from all of the lovely partners in the network. Great. So starting off, we'll talk about the bold goal. So about 10 years ago, we had set out with this bold goal of by 2025, all food insecure Mainers will have access to the nutritious food they need when and where they need it. In doing so, we will help stabilize the lives of the people we serve, reduce the economic costs of hunger in our state, and make Maine a stronger, more resilient place to work and live. And so in doing this, we recognize that this is not something that we can do alone. And we very much appreciate the partner network that we work with and recognize that this is a shared goal. So we go to the next slide. And so as part of this bold goal that we set out to do, there are some major goals within it. So recognizing that the interconnected factors contributing to hunger, Good Shepherd Food Bank will pursue 3 goals across our service area, partnering with communities to develop tailored solutions. So partnering with the network, which is all of you. So we've broken that out into 3 parts, if you will. We've got Nourish. The food bank believes in the right to nutritious food for all Mainers, food that nourishes people and supports good health. We dedicate ourselves to work with farmers, donors, and food producers to source the healthy food required to end hunger in Maine. So that's our first piece is Nourish. Our second piece is Connecting. Or Connect. The food bank commits to being a resource bridge between community organizations and members, developing strategies to reduce food insecurity in collaboration with those we serve to build resilience and confidence. So we also recognize that each of these major goals, in part, is with you, all of the partner network. And so the third goal is Empower. So all Mainers deserve to experience self-sufficiency and participate in the process of bettering their own lives. The food bank is dedicated to developing long-term solutions to end food insecurity and provide a path out of poverty. All right. So here we are down to the details. So the grant overview, if you've not heard of the grant before, the capacity building grant before, Good Shepherd Food Bank's capacity building grant is a program competitive grant process that awards funds to partner agencies of the food bank who seek to make improvements to their program, allowing them to serve the individuals in their communities more effectively, efficiently, and or safely. So we might be asking who can apply. So all partners in good standing are welcome to apply. And if you're asking yourself, am I in good standing? It's very likely that you are in good standing, but some of those points are to be considered is to have submitted a grant narrative, so the fiscal year 21-22 capacity building grant narrative. So if you received an award last year, we do have a survey that went out in the same email announcing the launch of the capacity building grant program for you to enter what your learnings, what your project looked like, successes, opportunities. So that is something that is required to apply for this round. The agency account file must have current documentation, updated food safety training, and no open invoices beyond 90 days past due. So like I said, you likely are in good standing. If you have questions about any of that information, please reach out to your community resource representative. If you hear us calling them CRRs, as we often do, if you're wondering what that is, it's your community resource representative. So please note this is a change for this year. That for future grant rounds to be considered in good standing, your agency must have submitted all retail receipts for each retail store pickup location by the end of every month. Product was picked up throughout the year, if applicable, in addition to the aforementioned considerations. So again, if you have questions about that, please reach out to your CRR and they are happy to help you. So what can be applied for? There we go. What can we apply for? So we really like to ask partners to dream big, and this is not prescriptive. So this is just to give folks an idea. If you're feeling like, I don't really know, this is a great way to kind of hopefully get those thought wheels churning to say, oh, okay, I hadn't thought of that. But we really encourage you to dream big and think of all the possibilities. So some of the examples include storage and distribution equipment, things like cold shelving, carts, temperature monitoring, transport equipment, vehicles, insulated blankets, reusable cold packs, safety equipment, PPE, sanitizers, space heaters, hand warmers for outdoor distributions, traffic safety jackets. Since COVID came into our lives, this was something that came up more in the last couple of years as folks were adapting and doing more drive-through and outdoor distributions, but certainly something that serves the community and neighbors more safely. So office equipment, computers, printers, software, advertising campaigns, website development, program signage, things that would build your community awareness, renovations too, or expansion of facilities, equipment and storage that will increase capacity around retail pickups. So with the potential of incorporating more retail product or pickups into current operations. Some of those things might include thermal blankets, scales, gas cards for volunteers. Yeah, and we'll talk more about some of the successful projects when we have our guest speakers a little bit later in the presentation. So if you're wondering, how do I get to this grant application? I got the email. I forgot where I put it. I can't find the link. Go to our website, go to the agency login section. Thank you, Meg. All over it. Agency login, and down here under applications, you will see the capacity building grant application, and voila, here it is. Gives you pretty well some of the highlights that we just talked about. And it also gives you a link to the capacity building grant narrative. So be sure to fill that out. And then shows you the whole application. So we will be accepting grant applications for fiscal year 22-23 until Monday, February 13th. The capacity building grant narratives are also due on Monday, February 13th. So please be sure to get those in conjunction with your new application. We love to hear the stories, success stories, really important in building community awareness, sharing that information with the network, other partners, to help give other people ideas. We will, of course, ask you if we can use your information, but love to hear positive feedback, successes, and actually just really love to hear any feedback, learnings that you've had. Sometimes when things don't go as planned, they actually works out in learning new things and better things. So all of the feedback, we want to hear all of the feedback. February 13th, and then applicants can expect to hear back on award decisions by early April of 2023. All right, move my screen here so I'm not just looking at me. All right, so let's talk about successes from the fiscal year 21-22 capacity building grant program. Some of the projects included were increasing cold storage capacity, equipment needs such as floor scales, tables, shelving, carts, pallet jacks, and thermal blankets, transportation investments, major building investment improvements, marketing and outreach. So last year, we had 79 partner agencies receive a total of $1,552,000 $52,740 in capacity building grants to support ending hunger in their communities. So really exciting stuff. Partner Network is just doing so many great things. Very excited about these opportunities. Those grants ranged grant funds ranged from $979 to $181,500. So even if you're thinking, oh, it's a small ask, I'm not even going to bother. Please do. There's no amount that is too small. And also, please dream big. And there's, it doesn't hurt to ask. So certainly will range. All right, next up, these are the specific sections of the application. And this is part of the scoring rubric. So to give you an idea, one of the first questions has to do with alignment, which is 25. Not percent, but so how much funding is your organization requesting? So please be sure to provide a brief explanation of your initiative or project with itemized pricing information for what you plan to purchase. If your project includes components that will require ongoing investment beyond this capacity building grant, such as staffing or a vehicle, please tell us about your long-term sustainability plan once these grant funds have been expended. So it's really important. This is a competitive grant process. So the detail is really important. And also, if you are going to ask for something like staffing or vehicle, that you give the grant review committee an idea of what your long-term plan is going to be for staffing that. So here's a sample answer we came up with. Our program plans to implement a grocery style shopping model distribution. We're requesting $1,500 in total. $1,000 will be used to purchase a produce display refrigerator. $300 will be spent on metal shelving to create shopping aisles. $200 will be used to purchase 2 used rolling carts and to help neighbors with their boxes as they are shopping. So tips for success around this particular question: before submitting your request, be sure that the project or investments you're proposing meaningfully expand upon your capacity to be effectively, efficiently, and safely ending hunger in your community. And make sure the information you provide is specific and that reviewers can easily decipher what you need for your project and your itemized costs. All right, next up we have impact on capacity. Can you see when I'm moving us around? Oh, you can. So I'm like moving you. Okay, that's good to know. Thanks. So for impact on capacity, please provide a brief explanation of why your agency is applying for this capacity building grant. How and why did you choose this initiative or project? And how will receiving the grant funds increase your organization's capacity to close the meal gap in your community? And if you have questions about meal gap information, feel free to reach out to your community resource representative. We're happy to chat with you about that information and share with you. And it also is something that we look at when we're looking at grant applications. So if that is something you're interested in looking at. So a sample answer for this: our program is requesting grant funds to purchase equipment for implementation of a grocery style shopping model distribution. Our goal is to increase neighbor satisfaction with the food they receive and their overall experience at the food pantry. Distribution 1 day a week to support families unable to attend daytime distributions and increase educational opportunities for volunteers to help support more meaningful interactions with neighbors. So tips for success in this area is make sure the why of your project investment is clear. So how will neighbors be better off as a result of your project or investment? So again, that is impact on capacity. All right, so continue. There is another section to that question. So if awarded a capacity building grant for your proposed project or initiative, how will you measure success? So again, we have a sample answer for this. So our program will measure success through neighbor surveys. We will survey neighbors before and after the implementation of the grocery style shopping model with questions specific to neighbor satisfaction around product selection, access to the pantry, and overall experience. Success will also be measured by the growth in produce distributed to families after increasing our refrigerated products on display and opening an additional evening each week. So tips for success around this topic is really get specific about what those measurements will use to determine how successful your project was and how you'll be collecting the data you'll measure. Methods of success that involve collecting neighbor feedback is a great way to engage your neighbors as experts in building community food security. All right, community need and voice. So this next one, please list the top 5 communities your program serves with corresponding percentages of neighbors attending from each town. So an example of what this would look like is we serve Portland, South Portland, Scarborough, Westbrook, and Falmouth, and listing corresponding breakdowns of what percentage of the population that you're serving. So 80% of our neighbors are from Portland, 5% of our neighbors are South Portland, another 5 from Scarborough, another 5 from Westbrook, and another 5 from Falmouth, making the total of 100% of your neighbors. So tips for success. If you haven't yet consulted neighbors about their needs and how your organization can best meet them, it's not too late. Your CRO will be happy to help you brainstorm ways to engage the community in planning your projects or investments if you'd like help coming up with some ideas. Again, this is a competitive grant process, and we love having the community be working with your community partners, other food pantries or meal sites in your area, and or their local businesses, community action organizations, anything that really pulls the community together is all really great success stories that we love to hear. All right, and this one is also continued. So tell us how your proposed initiative or project was informed by the needs and feedback of neighbors attending your program and the surrounding community. So again, we come back to really working together as a community. So answer for this would be we survey neighbors annually to gather feedback around program access, product selection, satisfaction, as well as overall experience. We also have a feedback collection box where neighbors can make requests, share ideas, or give feedback. Through these methods of data collection, we identified the need for evening hours and the desire for more self-selection. A tip for success in this is if you haven't yet consulted neighbors about their needs and how your organization can best meet them, again, it's not too late. Reach out to your community research representative. Happy to chat with you about this and come up with some brainstorming ideas for how you can still do this and how you can do it in the future. Alrighty, community-based organization and collaborations. Again, we're talking about this again. This is really important. Please tell us about ways your program currently partners with other organizations or groups in your community to better meet the needs of neighbors or increase impact on community food security. So are there any opportunities for new or expanded partnerships or collaborations related specifically to the capacity building grant funds requested for this proposal? So we have, for a sample example here, our program partners with local community action programs and businesses to build community awareness and maximize fundraising opportunities. We also work closely with other local food pantries and meal sites to coordinate distribution days and times for increased food access in the community. Our new evening hours are complementary to the existing food access in our community. Once we have completed the implementation of the shopping mall distribution, we plan to host an open house for neighbors, local organizations, businesses, and town officials to learn more about our program and see the changes we've made. So tips for success in this topic of who else will you be working with to make sure your project or investments are successful? And are there any ways you could deepen those partnerships to further benefit neighbors using this grant? Whoops, Meg, I can't hear you. Are you? Oh, there we go. Thanks, Meg. All right. So next up, this year we have an added section. So these are bonus points. So those first topics are part of the original application, and then we have this new section of bonus points. So impact on retail capacity and collaboration. So if your agency is intending or desires to increase retail capacity, either through additional pickups at one or more retailers or the ability to store and distribute more retail product, please provide a brief explanation of your plans. How and why did you choose this initiative? Let's see. And if you're asking, what are retail pickups? I'd really like to learn more. Please reach out to your community research representative. They are happy to chat with you about that. So a sample answer here would be, with increased distribution hours, a new produce display refrigerator, and the implementation of a shopping model distribution, we will be seeking additional retail opportunities. We value the local relationship we have with retailers in our community, and we, along with our neighbors, love the fresh produce that comes from local retail donations. So tips for this is enhancing the retail donor channel and maximizing direct to partner agency donations will be a renewed focus of Good Shepherd Food Bank as we refresh our strategic plan and deepen relationships with retail donors across the state. Regions with the highest remaining meal gap will be prioritized. All right, we are over to the scoring rubric overview. So we just talked about each of these buckets in depth. So this is the scoring rubric that the grant review committee will be using. So applications will be assessed on a scale of 1, which doesn't meet the criteria, to 5, which is excellent alignment with the criteria, according to the following metrics or buckets that we talked about. So again, alignment, impact on capacity, community need and voice, community-based organization collaborations, and then our bonus point sections, which is impact on retail capacity and collaborations. And you can see the scoring rubric over here to the right shows you how those will actually be scored 1 through 5, what the weight is, and then what the total score could be. All right, enough talk. I've done enough talking. So now let's see here. We will pass this along to our lovely guest speakers, our partner agencies. We are very excited to share. And I can't remember who's up first on our list. And I think it's probably going to be a surprise for them too. So surprise. Go ahead, Meg. Oh, I can't hear you.
Hey, Jen, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Jess. Yep.
Okay. I think Meg's probably trying to pop in with a few questions we have in our chat about some of the items that you just went over.
Okay.
So let's try to answer those, and then we'll move on to our panelists.
Yeah.
So the first one is confused by wording for who can apply. Caveats about receipts. Presumably, if you apply and were denied last year, does this not apply? And it is anonymous, so I'm not quite sure if we can
get some clarification.
Yeah.
So about receipts. So if anybody can folks on the call speak up to if somebody can clarify that, or I can certainly make a guess at what they might be. So under who can apply, so if you applied last year, regardless of if you applied last year, if you did or did not receive a grant, you're more than welcome to apply again this year. And so one of the, you can apply, if you did receive a grant last year, you would need to be sure that you fill out the grant narrative about the funds that you received last year, but you are still eligible to receive grant funding again this year. If it's talking about the receipts, which are retail receipts, this is something that is not happening this year. We wanted to give people advance notice for next year, which is why we are putting it out there this year. So retail receipts for some folks. Everybody hear me okay?
Not really. You're coming in and
out. Has it been like that the whole time?
On and off, but not too bad as much as this. Right?
All right, somebody give me a flag. Thank you if you can't hear me. So the retail receipt portion of it, retail receipts are specific to partners that are picking up directly from retail donors like Hannaford, Sam's, Walmart. And so it is not applied this year, but for next year, folks will need to have completed those on time throughout the year in order to be eligible for the grant funds next year. So hopefully that answered that question. If not, please pop another question in there and I will try to And I will try to answer that. And maybe somebody did put
And
in there.
yeah, I do have two more, and then we'll move on to the panelists and then come back to a Q&A session.
Okay,
But
great.
could you define your dates for fiscal year, please?
Fiscal year, yes, June 30th, 2022 to July 1st, 2023.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And then there seems to be an emphasis on retail capacities. Are you still interested in funding meal delivery programs?
Yeah, so this capacity building grant. I mean, we are accepting all applications, dream big. We definitely, we've got this bonus point section where we are looking at expanding our retail partnerships and retail donations. Specifically in areas of the state where we have meal gaps, larger meal gaps. But yes, we are still interested in all of your applications, all of your big thoughts, dreams, projects, ideas, initiatives.
Excellent. And like I mentioned, like we'll come back to the Q&A session, so please just feel free to use that Q&A function. And up next is the Burlington Food Pantry, and Maureen Bean, if you'd like to unmute and turn your camera on, we'd love to hear your story about capacity building grants.
Hi, am I there? Can you hear me? I'm unmuted.
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, I'm Maureen Bean, Burlington Food Pantry. It's because of Good Shepherd that we're on the map. I'm just so grateful. It takes my breath away to think how well you have supported this community. 2020, in March of 2020, we all know what happened, and I was teaching school and started delivering lunches, and we had about 20 people who came to us for help. 2 weeks ago, we had over 1,000. So the growth has been quite amazing. And at first, we borrowed a building, and then after several months, the owner of that building had fell with ill health, and we were scrambling to find a place. And so again, here, this is where the capacity grant came in. If you see the picture there, the smaller building on the left is 14 by 40. And a lumber company heard about us, donated some of that material, and Good Shepherd helped us to complete that first build. And then within these next 2 ongoing years, we were able, with another capacity grant, build the building that's on the right, which is 20 by 40, and then connect the two. And so, needless to say, it takes a lot of food to feed that many people. So you see a delivery truck picture there. Good Shepherd has delivered about 8,000 pounds of produce plus 14,000 pounds of dry goods every 2 weeks to us that we distribute. So every family gets a little less than 200 pounds of food, which we call groceries. And anyone can come. We're kind of remote as far as a little town of Burlington, but people are coming to us in about a 60-mile radius, and we allow people to pick up for other families, which helps them, helps us, because we don't have a delivery service. So that helps us with delivery. You see in the middle there, the bags that we pack, we take a grocery sack and pack it with dry goods. Then each person also receives a banana box with produce. Dry goods, our retail pickup from Hannaford's, which would be cold food and bread, and it's amazing. So we're helping people, and it's because of the help from Good Shepherd, and we appreciate that. Questions?
Thank you so much, Maureen. Do we have any questions specifically for Maureen?
I do not see any in the Q&A.
All right. Thank you so much, Maureen. It's so great to have you here and so great for you to share your story. And these pictures are so lovely.
Oh, thank you. And thank you so very much for helping us.
All right, let's see. Next up, we have Rain Francis from the Common Spring Food Pantry.
Hi, thank you for having me. I see the slide. This is our new building. Didn't you get this other slide? Oh, there we go. Is the inside. Thank you for putting up that picture. That's a new pantry. Actually, the Come Spring Food Pantry purchased the building in April of 2021. It was an ugly gray when we bought it. We decided, of course, it had to be red so it would stand out and everybody would know where it is. And people have truly found us there. And when we moved in, the building actually had a snowbank in the back. We needed a new roof, needed a lot of work. And we took our first 6 months to do that work. And then we moved the pantry from our old location into the new building. From the pictures, you can see the ones on the left side, that's when we first moved in. We used our old wooden shelving. We worked off of tables. We were still packing boxes that we were handing out to people in the parking lot. We got the grant from Good Shepherd. Thank you very much. To use the Shopper's Choice model. And we worked very closely with AIO down in Rockland on their Shopper's Choice model. We did model after that. I spent a lot of time there measuring shelves and how they got it laid out and whatever. And we really used that model to lay out ours. We had to, in the first pictures there, it doesn't look quite as bad as it was. It was school bus yellow pegboard. We ripped that all down. We repainted the walls, as you can see in the pictures on the right-hand side. This really bright green so that it's cheerful in there. Excuse me. Put up white wallboard. And the top picture is the shelving that we bought from the grant. And down at the end, there's 2 coolers, a freezer and a refrigerator where we're able to store meat out on the floor. We were never able to do that before, and have a cooler where people can actually shop with. And then the center is, so people come in the front door that you can see, grab a shopping cart, which were also donated, and go around and shop. We've increased from, when we moved over from the Thompson Center, we had about 18 families coming. We now have about 50 coming over that time period. It seems like every week we get more and more. The visibility is fabulous, but also the fact that when our neighbors come through, that they're able to really shop. We treat them very special, and coming through, we have shoppers that go with them and learn about what they have, they can cook on, what their refrigerator space is, that sort of thing, and help them, maybe plan out some meals as they go. So, excuse me. So it's been a great boost for us. The community loves it. We're getting a lot more support from community at large for what we're doing there. So, just thank you to Good Shepherd for that grant. It made it possible for us to really kick it up a level and serve our communities out there in Western Knox County really well. So thank you. Love to answer any questions.
Thanks so much, Lorraine. I love these pictures.
Yeah, thanks. We love our bright colors. And our blueberry, we're Maine blueberry country. So that's the floor that was in there. And we looked at it and thought, boy, cleaned up, that's going to look great. And we're really, we love using it because it just makes the whole thing, really bright and clean in there. So
I do see a question, and I don't know if it was for Maureen or Lorraine. And so maybe if you both want to answer, how many volunteers do you have?
We have, for when we have a shift, when the pantry is open, we have a team leader. We have 3 shoppers. We have a person that's basically refilling shelves, an intake person, and a parking lot person. So how many is that? 3, 4, 5, 6 people, 6 volunteers that are there. And then there's other people, that kind of are around, kind of come and go. We actually work with a life program where we have some students come in. We have one of our volunteer doing that with the students. So yes, it's a big crew. When we were at the Thompson Center, basically it was 2 people. And now we're, up over, 6 or 7 people that we have. So, yeah, a well-oiled machine. The other thing we've also done, is we have a Tuesday stocking day. That's when we get our retail pickup from Shaw's, and that comes in and we're able to restock the shelves, have everything done so that when the people, our volunteers for the pantry get there, they're just putting out the, fresh bread and the produce. So it's running a lot smoother at this point. There's not that panic. We're opening and, it's already set up when people walk in. So our volunteers walk in the morning. So.
Great. Thanks so much, Lorraine.
Yeah.
As for
Great.
us, yes, we have between 20 and 35 volunteers that are kind of sporadic. We have 2 very busy days, one on a Thursday when the truck arrives, and then on Fridays when we have a distribution. And again, the volunteers, like she said, are amazing. They're the integral part of what makes this thing work. And that well-oiled machine, they learn from each other. If we have somebody new, they take them under their wing and kind of help them to know what can be done. And if it weren't for our volunteers, we couldn't do this by ourselves. So it's quite amazing. We appreciate that.
Great. Thank you both. Anybody else have any questions for Lorraine? All right.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for asking me to speak.
Thank you so much for being here. Our last speaker is Megan from Footprints Food Pantry.
Hi, thank you. So the photos, I don't have a great photo of our current food pantry. Footprints is in Kittery. We serve Kittery and Elliott primarily, and then 10% of surrounding towns. The middle picture is our current space. The gardens were a grant at one point, which have been great, but we have been all volunteer for the last 30 years. Well, 28 years, 2 years ago. Footprints hired their first director, which has been really a fun position for me to be in, because it's been a blank slate of looking forward and studying. Like someone else said, AIO, we went to AIO, we went to a lot of food pantries in New Hampshire, we went to a lot of food pantries in Mass and just studied the models. And perhaps the most exciting piece for me was seeing Good Shepherd's bold goal with the nourish, connect, and empower. And because we really started focusing on nutrition security at Footprints and having a spice shelf program and looking at teaching people to cook. And so that was a huge piece for us. And then the collaboration piece, or the connect, we're collaborating constantly. And I'm sure everyone on this call probably sees that the food pantries are so likely the most often touch points for an individual who's seeking services. And we found that we were constantly a touch point and a point of trust, and which then put us on the phone to other nonprofit agencies and social service agencies in the community, like the housing agency or a mental health or domestic violence general assistance. So we were constantly in that realm. And we certainly, the empower piece has always been a big piece of the work that I'd like to do in life, and volunteers at Footprints is to help people build their own agency to sustain their life and to build that capacity. So really doing some comprehensive care out of the food pantry. Last year, simultaneously, the same time the capacity building grant came out, Footprints was fortunate enough with an amazing partner in Kittery, Fairtide, which is our local affordable housing agency, to ask if we were willing to move into a collaborative model with them. And the blue building on your left is a 8,000 square foot building in Kittery on the primary road in Kittery. It's right by the Navy Yard and by our only pharmacy in both communities of Elliott and Kittery. And we were able to go in front of the county commissioners and receive American Rescue Plan funds to purchase that building. Fairtide Emily Flingstrom of Fairtide, their executive director, did the heavy work on that and invited Footprints to be the partner. So the two of us excitedly have been working for the last year on a new building. It's called Mainspring. And inside that building, that lower level where you see that doorway, that whole lower level will be the food pantry. The upper level will be Fair Tides Thrift Store, which is their unrelated income stream. And then there'll be our York County Community Action Group is coming in with their outreach worker and their WIC program, as well as general assistance from the towns of Kittery and Elliott. And then we are currently working to find a mental health partner, a medical and dental partner, and then flex offices for legal, tax support, and aging in place support. So we have so we wrote a grant last year to help develop this project. And our goal is to be in there by 2024. And the capacity building grant, which we received, has really helped us develop this building and the plans for this building and our space. And I think I might have sent a picture of the floor plan and or the building. Did I send that rendering perhaps? Or are these the three I sent? No, anyways, I suppose I didn't, but we're really excited. We're putting a commissary kitchen into this new building to repurpose food and provide prepared meals, which in our surveys we're finding is the biggest need. And it'll be a full grocery store model with a deli counter, bakery counter, just as if you're walking into the grocery store. So we are super grateful to Good Shepherd. You've allowed us to do the work this year that we've done to get this far, and construction should start this spring. So thank you so much.
Very exciting. Thank you so much, Megan.
Of course, thank you.
Can folks hear me okay? I seem to be having some technical issues with my computer here. You can hear me okay? Got a thumbs up from Mary. Thank you. Okay, great. Yes, and my apologies for that. That was great. I love hearing all of these success stories. We do have our lovely community resources team. Everybody is on the call here. So team, feel free to chime in. I know I've done a lot of talking, so want to make sure everybody, if you have specific questions for a community resource representative, feel free to put them in the hot seat. I'm sure they won't mind. Happy to answer more questions. Let's see what else we have in the chat. And if you can't hear me, please, somebody flag me, save me from this sinking ship.
Jen, it's Jess. And we do have some answered questions as well in the question and answer box. If you click down at the bottom where it says Q&A with the two little chat bubbles, a pop-up will come up and you can click on answered up at the top. So we also have some open questions and I will just shoot them off. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Okay, so Janice is wondering, do we have to include meal gap? Also, we serve more than 150 towns, so how would we show community need / percentage ?
Yeah, so that is a great question. No, you do not need to show meal gap. That's information that we have that we will reference to. But if you're curious, I would encourage you to reach out to your community research representative. It's really helpful and really kind of getting a bigger picture of what's happening in the community, the surrounding communities, and across the state. So certainly tap into to the team for those questions. And then as far as if you're serving more than the top 5, it's really is the top 5 where the majority of your neighbors are coming from. And we will look at the corresponding meal gap information. Is that helpful? Shannon, Dawn, CRRs, anybody else want to chime in?
I think you covered it perfectly, Jen. And you didn't cut out at all that time, so that was good.
Not awkwardly.
The next question is, how do you classify contributions from farmers?
Another great question. So it depends from farmers. Are you referring to the Mainers Feeding Mainers program or?
The question was from John Hedman, so I'm not sure if he's able to unmute.
So if you are,
I think I'm unmuted. Are you?
Yes, you are. Hi, welcome.
Yeah, I left the R out of contributions, sorry. But
Okay.
This basic question, a lot of the information relative to the grant is about retail things and so forth, and what happens with us, we're in Aroostook County, which of course is the breadbasket of Maine. So when it gets to be late gardening time and early potatoes and so forth, I will get calls or other volunteers. And it's off a farm stand, they got an oversupply, some stuff is aging out a little bit. And they'll call, and if we have a distribution coming up in a day or two, we can get sometimes hundreds of pounds. And that's obviously not through Good Shepherd directly. We have 2-3 farmers that provide us potatoes and other produce on kind of a semi-regular basis. So in terms of classifying it, we get that out as quickly as possible. We usually just put it on a table or baskets and so forth and let people help themselves. But part of the question is, I guess farmers are in the retail business to some degree. I don't know. I think retail, you're talking, as you mentioned, Hannaford, Walmart and so forth, or we have a local grocery store, for example, that puts out a box for us and people donate and so forth. So that's a retail connection. But does the farmer thing fit in the retail, or where might it fit?
So do you mean as far as, are you asking about retail receipts specifically, or just kind of in general where that would fit?
Kind of in general, and even on the grant application.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that it sounds like which is amazing. It sounds like the donations that you're getting are from a private donation.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is, I would say, what that classifies as.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can make that fit. It's an important part, and it's fresh
Absolutely.
produce, and
Yeah, absolutely.
farm to table programs. It's a great fit for that when they contact us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John. Next question, can we receive a partial grant request, or is it all or nothing?
Anybody else want to take that? So I'm not hogging the.
I can grab this one. And I'll share too, John. I think one great place to put some of the work that you're doing, the local growers and farmers, is maybe in that community partnership section would be a good place for you to highlight that within the grant. We do offer partial grant requests. We have in the past. What that usually looks like is in your submitted budget, some portions of it will be funded and some pieces may not be. Your CRR would reach out to you and say, this is the part of your project we can fund. Do you still want to move forward? Is this still meaningful to you and helpful to you, even if it's not the full amount that you were requesting? Most people say yes. And then we work together to get out an MOU and get the grant checks out. So we have offered partial funding in the past. That's been one of the things that grant review members will do.
Awesome. Thank you, Shannon. Do renovations have to be in a building owned by a pantry?
Anybody else want to take that one? I'm happy to, if not. No?
I can, Jen.
Dawn? No, I can.
I'm happy to either way. In our experience, we do ask that the building be owned by the food pantry for which the funds are being requested.
Thank you. And our next one is numbers of neighbors / clients participating in the program should not be numbers, but percentage. Please confirm. And that's by an anonymous attendee. So I'm not quite sure if we can get additional information or any follow-up for that question.
Yeah, if I'm understanding that correctly, I think you're asking, hey, if we have 100 neighbors that visit our facility, you're wanting to know, well, 20 of them come from X town, 20 of them come from Y town, and the remaining 60%, the remaining 60 come from A town, then yes, it is percentages, it's not numbers. That is correct.
Awesome. Thank you, Dawn. And looking at the timestamp of Katie Brown's question, I think this is for Burlington, and she says, it's amazing. Too stunned by that to ask anything. Congrats. Our next question is, there was a reference to American Rescue Grant.
I can answer that one if you want. Fair Tide and Footprints, when there was so many ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan funds, every county was allotted a number in every community, I believe, most communities. I do not believe there's any still available, but we went in front of the York County Commissioners and requested that grant funding. I am not sure that they're still available, but you could certainly check in with your municipality or your county commissioners. If that answers it.
Come Spring Food Pantry also received the ARPA funds, and it was for work on our building. And we were able to, it's actually, I think we have 2 more years to use it. It's over 3 years. They're not available anymore. That was a year and a half ago that you applied for those. But we also have that, and we've been able to do a lot of structural work and work around our building with that money.
Burlington Food Pantry received some as well. Our town of Burlington was given a sizable amount, and they shared it with us and some other projects in town. So we benefited from that as well.
Yeah, am I unmuted?
You are, John, yes?
This is John. I helped write an ARPA grant for a municipality, not related to food pantries, but the 2 or 3 that you have commented, your best source is going to be your municipality. It was in phases. I'm not sure if there's another phase going to be rolled out. That seems to be up in the air, but town officials should know.
Excellent. Thank you. Or sorry, do you have more?
No, I'm
Sorry.
done. I'm done.
Okay, wonderful. We do have one more question or 2 more questions. Is there a greater interest by Good Shepherd in supporting grassroots programs than large $1 million plus programs?
I would say all applications are welcome, and large, small. Like I said, we have an interest in ending hunger and across the state, and that is done through multiple partnerships and all across the state. So I would say we have an interest.
If there's anything we use really to prioritize investments, it's really on that scoring rubric, right? It's how well does the project align with the goals of the capacity building grant, and what is that remaining meal gap look like that in that community, can indicate to us an area where we really need some more capacity to be able to get everybody the food that they need. So those are really the full shebang, if you will, of what we look at when we make the decisions for these awards.
Perfect. Thank you. Next question. Can we apply for food, money, or allowance when ordering from Good Shepherd? And that's from Nancy. So I'm not sure if she wants to pop on and kind of add some detail. We see you, Nancy. We just need to unmute. There we go.
There you go. A good deal of what we spend money on is ordering from Good Shepherd. Our USDA supplies have dwindled. A lot of other supplies have dried up. And, I'm spending, when I order, I'm spending 2.5 times what I used to. Our overhead is quite high. So I'm trying to keep as much food coming in as possible and giving out as much as possible. But can we apply for extra food money through Good Shepherd? The other thing we need is boxes. boxes. We're still on doing curbside distribution, and people are actually returning boxes to us and bringing in extras and all that. That grocery totes that we put cardboard in the bottom of, finding any way that we can do it. We do a lot with a little. So can we apply for, in this grant for for an extension of food money to, to order foods?
Anybody want to pick that one up?
I can take
So-
that one. Oh, did somebody else speak at the same time as me? Okay. So Nancy, one, I'll encourage you to reach out to your CRR, because we definitely want to know all about the challenges that you're having finding food. And we certainly want to make sure that we're looking for any connections to local retailers that we might be able to connect you with. So Nancy and Nancy's CRR, let's connect and chat further about that. The capacity
Well,
building.
there was a time in the past where Good Shepherd had given us all an allotment, and I was just wondering if this was tied into that at all.
No, I mean, and we are still subsidizing purchased product. This particular capacity building grant opportunity, though, is really geared towards requests that will improve your infrastructure, increase that efficiency or effectiveness in the way that you're serving your community. So this opportunity is a little bit different. It's looking to make capacity, infrastructure, and expansion of program services available in your community more than it is about food cost.
Right.
But we definitely still want to help you with finding your food needs, and we can
I
work with you.
understand. Please send us another letter to send out to the Secretary of Agriculture. We actually printed ours out and had about 150 signatures and sent it to them in the mail,
Okay,
and they responded.
let me thank you for doing that first off, Nancy. That is fantastic. Let me share with our public affairs and research team that was a really effective method for you, and also your name, if that's okay. And I'm sure that you will hear back more on how you can continue to be an effective advocate. That's incredible. So thank you for doing that.
All right. God bless y'all. Thank you so much for everything you do.
You too, Nancy.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy. We have two more questions, but I do want to recognize that it is 4:30. So if you do have to hop off the call, just know that we have it recorded, and we'll be sending out a link on Monday and Tuesday to the community partnership members that are partner agencies that we have. So two more questions. If you have, or if you need help with more than one item, but they are not necessarily for the same specific goal, should we submit two different grant requests or somehow combine them on one form with separate goals?
So I would recommend combining them on one form with separate goals.
Perfect. And the last question is, what is the best way to show a meal gap in the community as per Shannon's comment, the number of people served XYZ the previous year and anticipated increased demand?
Yeah, great question. My recommendation would be to reach out to your community resource representative who can work with
Oh,
you.
Jen, we're losing you a little bit.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
Okay, as I'm like right in front of the camera here, my recommendation would be that you reach out to your community resource representative who can definitely help you gathering that information. It is information that we have handy, so feel free to reach out and have a conversation with your CRR who can share that information with you.
Awesome, that sounds great. And I don't see any more questions. Jen, if you want to take it away.
Okay, great. Thank you all again for joining us today. It was a pleasure to be here and chat about this grant. I'm very excited to see the applications rolling in. If you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Myself, the CRRs, Community Resources team. Yeah, happy Thursday, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.